This event that I've organised today has been in partnership with Easternwell, Sunrise Way, from support with Rural and Remote Health and the Darling Downs and Westmort PHNs. With funding from them and support from management, we've brought together this group for a presentation on mental health and addiction and coping mechanisms, and I'm hoping that our staff can learn and take that away and talk to their families or think about their own life.
Max, thank you so much. Now Max, your story is a little bit different to Justin's. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about where you've come from and a little bit about your background?
Yeah, thanks Carla. I guess when I was younger I was just like any other normal person that could go out and have a few drinks and then leave it alone. I had a good job, good marriage, kids, and you know, I used to have a lot of fun having a few drinks and that sort of thing, but as I got older and I guess the pressures of life and that sort of thing, a little bit more stress at work, moving up the ladder at work and that sort of thing, I got to this stage where my anxiety and the stress levels really started to play up, and I used to find that alcohol for me used to alleviate that. So I used to use it, and you know, I didn't think I was doing anything out of the ordinary. Everybody has a few drinks, and you know, it went from weekends to every day of the week sort of thing. And to cut a long story short, you know, probably 10 or 15 years later it became a daily thing, and then to be able to even get myself to work, I had to start drinking in the morning before I could face work. So, you know, that's a pretty quick rundown, I guess, yeah.
So can you tell us about that a bit more, Max? It must have been really hard to be going through all of this and still trying to maintain your job and do the right thing by your employer. What were some of the challenges and the struggles that you came across in that period of your life?
Oh, I guess just for me the constant lying that I had to do, because that was the only way I could get myself to work. Sometimes I couldn't face work. I would get to the corner and I'd have to turn around and go back home again because my anxiety with panic attacks and that sort of thing, and it was quite difficult. I wanted to go to work. I wanted to carry on with life like anybody else did, but I couldn't handle it. I went to the doctor. I started mixing prescribed medications with the alcohol, and I'd do anything I could to try and beat the anxiety, and that was my crutch. It was the only way I could survive was alcohol.
And what was the impact of that on your family, Max?
Oh, it was really, really difficult. I lost my first wife because of it, eventually, and the kids didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to know me. I didn't want to associate with anybody. I was just happy to crawl in my own little box and get drunk, and to me it wasn't so much the drunk feeling that I chased, it was the relaxation, and it took all my problems away from me. But the only way that I could keep them away was to keep drinking daily.
So it sounds like it was something that you used to be able to escape and to kind of numb everything that was giving you some troubles.
It was, and earlier on in life, I think, to me, I was raised correctly, everything else, but I forgot about all the coping skills, I guess, and alcohol was an easy fix. It was not instant, but it didn't take too long, and you could get on with things. You'd start to feel what I call normal, and everything was fine. You could carry on with your life.
And so when you were trying to get through that part of your life, was there a moment when you went, I need to do something about this?
There was. I guess it was when I lost my licence for the 5th time for drink driving. My boss had just about had enough of me. I used to call in sick with a stubby in my hand. I guess I wasn't lying, I was crook, but yeah. So he was good enough to keep my job for me while I went up to Sunrise Way. But yeah, no, it was, I think I got to the point where I couldn't live with it and I couldn't live without it. And yeah, it was To me, I don't think it was too far off the end, to be truthful. Yeah.
So when you say not too far from the end, do you mean as in your own health was so bad that you...
Yeah, I don't think I would be here today if I hadn't have done something about it. Yeah,
Wow.
I really don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what did you do then? So you came to Sunrise Way and you were lucky enough to have a boss that was happy to hold your role for you or have a role for you to come back to.
Yeah.
How important was that in you seeking treatment and having something to look forward to at the end of your time at Sunrise Way?
It was just mind-boggling to know that he would hold my position for me. He was actually very, very happy that I made the choice to go to Sunrise Way. The program changed from I'm not sure, I think it may have been like a 16 to a 24-week program or something like that.
Yeah, I think
the
it's 4
day
to
that
6
I
weeks.
happened to walk in, and I really thought, well, this sucks and everything else. But
Sorry.
if that's it, that's it. I can still walk out whenever I want.
Yeah.
And when my 3 months was up, or 4 months, whatever it was supposed to be initially, I rang my boss up and said, look, I really think I need to stay the extra time, and he was very supportive, and it was just without a employer like that at the time, it would have been so much more difficult. Yeah, really would have been.
And what about the other supports, Max? Did you have other people around you that helped you to get through that as well?
I did. Once people could sort of see that I was trying to do something about it, they started to come back to me a little bit, like the kids and that sort of thing, wanted to know me again, and so family, friends that I'd forgotten about, that I only wanted to know when I needed money, they came out of the woodwork, and it was just terrific, the support that I was starting to get.
It's fantastic. And what does life look like for you now?
It's absolutely brilliant. I guess everybody has good days and bad days. Doesn't matter whether you've got an addiction or had an addiction. Everybody's human. Not every day is going to be perfect. But I can wake up in the morning now and know what I did the day before. I can know that unless I've got the flu really bad or something, that I'm going to be able to go to work. If I tell somebody I'm going to be somewhere, I can be there. And I don't have to tell lies anymore. It's just awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what would you say, because alcohol is such an accepted substance in our society, isn't it? I go to school fetes and fairs and things, and they're serving alcohol at the bar, and every sporting event, and there seems to be an excuse to have alcohol at everything. How do you manage that now? Because I imagine that must be tricky.
I still don't go to a lot of places. I certainly don't go out of my way to go somewhere where there's alcohol and that, but it really doesn't bother me if I do go somewhere and there's alcohol there. Thankfully, at the moment, I sort of don't have any urges or desires or anything like that to want to drink, and that's a real blessing for me at the moment. I'm really grateful.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Max, for sharing your story. I hope that you've all appreciated hearing from both of these guys. Max spoke at our resilience breakfast earlier this year as well, and I just think that Max's story is so relatable in so many ways. Max reminds me of the neighbours that I've had, and the family friends that we've had, and and I think that sometimes we don't realise that people who are in our lives are going through that anxiety and that worry. So thanks, Max, for sharing that, because I think that's the only way we can help